The night she disappeared, the city did not notice. Street lights flickered the same tired orange glow, traffic murmured like a restless ocean, and somewhere in the distance, laughter spilled from a rooftop party as if the world had agreed quietly, cruelly to move on without her. But for him, time fractured at exactly 11:37 p.m., the moment her last message arrived. "Don't come looking for me." He read it once. Then again. And again, until the words lost meaning and became nothing more than a cruel arrangement of letters. His name wasn't there. No explanation. No anger. Just a goodbye that didn't sound like goodbye, it sounded like surrender. Ayan stood in the middle of his dimly lit apartment, the phone trembling in his hand. Outside, rain began to fall, soft at first, like hesitation. Then heavier, like regret. He didn't believe her. Because Zoya was not someone who left. She was the kind of person who stayed even when the world gave her every reason not to. He met her on a day that felt entirely forgettable. A crowded bookstore. Dusty shelves. The faint scent of old paper and something like nostalgia. Ayan had gone there to escape, not to find anything, certainly not someone. But she was there, standing on the small wooden ladder, reaching for a book she couldn't quite grasp. "Need help?" he had asked, more out of habit than interest. She turned, slightly annoyed, slightly amused. "I've been managing my whole life. I think I can survive one shelf." But she smiled anyway. And that was the beginning. Zoya had a way of speaking like she was always on the edge of saying something deeper but choosing not to. Her words were simple, but her silences were heavy. Ayan noticed that early, how she would pause mid-sentence, as if editing her thoughts before letting them exist in the world. "What are you afraid of?" he once asked her. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she traced invisible patterns on the table between them. "Being understood," she finally said. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. She didn't. Their love didn't happen all at once. It unfolded slowly, like a letter written over months, each line adding meaning to the last. Coffee turned into conversations. Conversations turned into late-night confessions. And somewhere in between, without either of them realizing it, they became each other's safest place. But love, as Ayan would later learn, is not always enough to hold someone together. Sometimes, it only shows you how broken they already are. Zoya carried sadness like it was part of her identity. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that begs for attention. Hers was quiet, patient, almost invisible. It lived in the way she stared too long at nothing, in the way her smile sometimes arrived a second too late, in the way she avoided talking about her past like it was a locked room she refused to enter. Ayan didn't push. He thought love meant waiting. He thought she would tell him when she was ready. He thought wrong. The first crack appeared on a rainy evening. They were sitting by the window, watching droplets race each other down the glass. Zoya rested her head on his shoulder, unusually quiet. "Do you ever feel like you don't belong anywhere?" she asked suddenly. Ayan frowned. "Everyone feels like that sometimes." "No," she said softly. "I mean all the time." He turned to look at her, but she was already looking away. "You belong with me," he said, trying to sound certain. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's what scares me." He didn't understand then. He would, later. Too late. Days passed. Then weeks. And something began to shift. Zoya started pulling away, not dramatically, not in ways that could be easily confronted. It was subtle. She replied slower. She cancelled plans more often. She laughed less. Ayan noticed, of course. "How are you?" he asked one night. "I'm okay." "You don't sound okay." I said I'm okay. And that was the end of the conversation. The truth is, Ayan didn't know how to fight something he couldn't see. There was no rival. No betrayal. No obvious reason for her distance. Just an invisible wall growing between them, brick by silent brick. And every time he tried to break it down, she built it higher. Then came the night of the message. "Don't come looking for me." He did anyway. The next morning, Ayan stood outside her apartment. The door was locked. The windows were dark. Her neighbor, an old woman who always watched too closely, shook her head when he asked. "She left last night." "Didn't say where." "Did she look okay?" The woman hesitated. "She looked like someone who had already left long before she walked out that door." That sentence stayed with him. Because it felt true. Because it meant he had missed something important. Days turned into weeks. No calls. No messages. No trace. It was as if Zoya had erased herself from existence. But Ayan refused to accept it. Because love doesn't disappear without leaving something behind. And he was determined to find it. He started with the places they had shared. The bookstore. The cafe. The park where she once told him she liked watching strangers because they carry stories they'll never tell. Nothing. Just echoes. Then, one evening, while going through an old notebook she had left behind, he found something. A letter. Folded carefully. Hidden between blank pages. Not addressed. Not dated. But unmistakably hers. His hands shook as he opened it. And what he read changed everything. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't have the courage to say it out loud. I'm not leaving because I stopped loving you. I'm leaving because I don't know how to stay without destroying everything. You see me as someone worth saving. But I've spent my whole life trying to survive myself. And I'm tired. I'm so tired. You deserve someone who isn't constantly at war with their own mind. Someone who doesn't wake up every day wondering if they'll make it to the next. I love you, that's why I have to go. Ayan sat there for a long time. The world around him faded into silence. And for the first time, he understood. She didn't leave because she didn't love him. She left because she did. But understanding didn't make it easier. If anything, it made it worse. Because now he knew she wasn't running away from him. She was running away from herself. And that was a battle he didn't know how to fight. But he was going to try anyway. Ayan didn't sleep that night. The letter remained open beside him, its words refusing to settle, echoing again and again like a truth he had arrived too late to hear. Morning came quietly, slipping through the curtains in pale gold, but it brought no clarity, only a sharper awareness of absence. Zoya was gone. Not just physically, but deliberately. And yet, for the first time since she left, Ayan felt something different, not hope exactly, but direction. The letter wasn't just a goodbye. It was a map, written in emotion instead of places. She had told him where she was, not in location, but in pain. And if he wanted to find her, he would have to understand that pain. Days turned into a quiet obsession. Ayan began retracing not just their shared memories, but the spaces between them, the moments he had overlooked, the silences he had mistaken for comfort. He revisited every conversation, every hesitation in her voice, every time she had almost said something and stopped. He realized something unsettling. Zoya had been saying goodbye long before she left. He just hadn't been listening closely enough. There was one place he hadn't checked. Not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered too much. The small hill at the edge of the city. They had gone there only once, late at night, escaping the noise of everything. The city lights had stretched below them like a scattered constellation, and Zoya had stood at the edge, her hair dancing wildly in the wind. "This is where I come when I want to feel small," she had said. "Why would you want that?" Ayan asked. "Because when I feel small, my problems feel smaller too." He remembered that night with painful clarity. Because before they left, she had added something he didn't understand at the time. "If I ever disappear," she had whispered, almost to herself, "this is where a part of me will be." So he went. The hill looked the same. The wind still carried that quiet loneliness, the kind that didn't ask questions. The city still glowed beneath, like it was unaware of everything breaking above it. Ayan walked slowly, his heart heavier with each step, until he reached the edge. And then he saw it. A small object, barely noticeable against the rough ground. A box. His breath caught as he picked it up. Inside were photographs. Not random ones, but moments. Their first coffee. Her laughing mid-sentence. A blurry picture of him she must have taken without him noticing. And at the bottom, another letter. He opened it carefully, as if afraid it might disappear. You found this. I knew you would. You were always the kind of person who looks for answers even when they hurt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't let you see everything. But loving you was the most real thing I've ever felt, and that scared me more than anything else. Because people like me, we don't know how to hold on to something that beautiful without breaking it. I wanted to stay. God, I wanted to stay. But every day, I felt like I was becoming a shadow in your light. And one day, I realized, if I stayed, I wouldn't just lose myself. I would lose you too. So I chose to leave while you still loved me. While I was still someone you could remember without pain. Don't look for me after this. Not because I don't want to be found, but because I need to learn how to find myself first. And if life is kind, maybe one day, our paths will cross again. Not as broken pieces trying to fit, but as whole people choosing each other. Until then, live. For both of us. Zoya. Ayan closed his eyes. The wind grew stronger, as if trying to carry S.